So this is my unpopular opinion, and like, I don't want to be canceled. This is just my take. Like, if you disagree with me, just keep it pushing. Like, I don't want to like be caught up in the sauce, right? But I think that at the core of gun violence, it's something that people aren't really talking about. Like, I hear one side guns, and one side mental health, and I think that there's truth on both sides. But I think that if we were to remove like the confounding variable of just the weapon of guns, I think that we would still have an issue at its core, because I think at the core the issue is that we are raising children in a very paradoxical way, right? So in a society, the way this is society, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, just saying this is how we raise children in society for the most part. If you look at what people want, who want traditional gender roles, this is how they raise their children. Whereas the son, the first 18 years of his life, like, people are like, daughters are harder to raise, so they're on their daughters about their grades, they're on their daughters about going out, they're on their daughters about like a curfew, they're on their daughters, right? About like being a good girl, being a good person. And because they don't want her to get pregnant, right? Whereas boys, they have more frivolous, like, oh, boys are easy to raise, like, it'll all work out for a guy in the end, right? So then they're not on them about their grades, they're not on them about like what they should be doing. Like, the mom will like not really teach the boy how to house make or home make, or like, for example, like when I went to college, like, a lot of the boys didn't know how to do laundry. Like, their parents just dropped them off and they did not know how to do laundry because the boys have been doing their laundry. Their parents have been doing their laundry their whole life. Whereas all the girls in the hall knew how to do their laundry. Like, I'm not even joking. Very minimal boys know how to do their laundry. All the girls know how to do their laundry. All the girls know how to make dinner and like make and cook food. A lot of the boys relied on only the food plan. They did not know how to make food. They did not know how to cook. They'd never set foot in the kitchen. So we have this society that's teaching boys kind of like, someone's gonna take care of you, someone's gonna take care of you, someone's gonna take care of you, right? And then they're sent at 18 into this pressure cooker of a society where it's like, oh, you need to be the high performer. You need to be the person leading the household. You need to be the head of the house, like the head on like the, the woman's a swivel and the man's a head, right? And you need to be a decision maker, and you need to know how to do all this stuff, and you. So then you pressure cook them. And then you put in the fact of, also, you won't get a partner if you don't do all these things.
So let me stop there, because I know it's a lot to this, and she said a lot. And so let me try to dissect this a little bit from a C student's perspective, and hopefully I can add some value. First, the whole gun violence thing. I think she's absolutely right on that. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. And you can't remove people's ability to be able to have guns. Now, she started to deep dive a little bit more into it by starting to understand and highlight how if you removed all of this, it wouldn't stop the violence, because the nature of people is based off of their cultural norms. It's how they were raised and what they were taught when they were younger. All right? So let's start there, and let's start to dissect this a little bit. She then goes into and says, well, when women are younger or young girls are coming up, they are taught this, they are on them, be a good girl, so on and so forth. I don't think that that's the case nowadays. I don't. I believe that nowadays women have been taught at a younger age when they were girls to be like boys. And so I don't believe that the cultural norms or the gender norms that she's describing, I believe that was in the Disney books. I believe that's the fairy tale version. Nowadays, what's really happening is guys are disgusted at the fact that women want to be like men, and they have a really, really liberal mindset to where they can do whatever it is that they want to do, because often at times they were raised in single parent households, which means that the girl usually had the opportunity to go and find herself because her mother was at work all the time and she wasn't really raised to be what she's supposed to be. Now, obviously, nothing is a monolith, so you can't say all, but I'm talking about from a general perspective, this is what you see, and this is why so many people also are easily impressed when they go to these liberal indoctrination camps, which we call college, right? Because they are easily impressed, and even the word says, teach them when they're young and it'll never depart from them. So guys on the flip side that are raised in single mother households are usually feminized. And I'm not saying they're feminine, but they're feminized, meaning that they embrace feminism because they haven't had a strong male presence in their life to show them and to be the example of what you are supposed to be, because boys are supposed to fail in controlled environments. That is why they say that they are on girls, because the value that you are is based off of what you present, versus boys, we have to go out and kill and you eat what you kill. Now, everybody has been grouped into one setting to where the women we've tried to overcorrect because they don't or they reject our cultural norms or what we suppose to identify as traditional family values. And so they've completely divested themselves away from what a woman used to be taught to be, which is ideal and what she's saying. And the boys have now become more feminized because they were only raised to see what it's like to be raised as a woman by their single mother who cannot raise a boy. And so, what it is that they champion, what it is that they highlight, and how easily they're impressed by what happens in these places if they just so happen to go to college. But the reality is that the boys don't even know how to be men anymore. And the problem is not what she's identifying, because it's not that hard to learn how to fold your clothes. Nobody need, you don't have to learn how to fold your clothes. I learned how to fold my clothes on my own. I know how to throw some loads in the washing machine. It's not like y'all, washing clothes from scratch or baking anything from scratch. Most of the time, y'all throwing stuff inside of the microwave in the oven, calling it a day. But the fact of the matter is that most guys are not what the women need them to be, and the women are not wives anymore because they've gave themselves over into the world. And so the real issue that I see, and I want to see the rest of her video, the real issue that I see, honestly, is single parent households.
And the society hasn't set them up to be good partners. So then when they don't get partners after 18, they're like, wait a second, I was promised that I would have a partner like similar to my mother that would do all the stuff that my mother did for me. But in society, you can't just get that. You don't just fall into that, because women have been raised to have this like traditionally elite value of school, education, performance, and all that stuff. So then we're looking for guys who match that same like vibe, but then guys weren't raised in the same society. But then you have the expectation of women to be submissive to the men that you didn't raise to be leaders. And then you get into like the whole like gender norms of like femininity and crying and all that stuff. Whereas like men, like there's no woman loneliness epidemic, because if I'm not in a relationship, I don't feel lonely because I have my friends. I have other girls I can talk to, which is why when you see girls who are like the quote unquote pick-me's, they will actually feel lonely when they're single. They will have like the loneliness not.
I hate this conversation because they always labeling somebody as a pick-me as though it's a bad thing. You are supposed to get picked. We are not, and this is why I say that a lot of these women are raised to be more masculine, and they seek in their companionship with women that don't even have any value in their life or can't add any value to their life. Whereas a woman that gets picked ultimately is able to be the helpmeet that she's designed to be, which is why women are not supposed to be men.
Isolation and like the wanting and the desire for a companion that runs a little bit deeper, because they don't have that full circle of feminine relationships. Whereas men, if you ask them when their best friend's birthday, they don't know. If you ask them,
why would I care?
Like,
that's what I got a calendar for.
Like, oh, when did your best friend get divorced? Like, why did they get divorced? They don't know. If you ask them anything, and well, male relationships are easier. Yes, because they lack depth. So then when men do like very rash actions or act in very rash ways, it's because they have no one to talk them off that ledge. Whereas girls really lean on one another to talk off that ledge. So you have a society that's not emphasizing like close, tearful, bonding relationships between men. Then you also don't emphasize the first 18 years of their life how to be successful. And then you send them out to a society where you're like, you have to be all these things right now. That's why people are losing their minds. And like, this is not placing blame on anybody. This is just like a societal, like sociological perspective that I've noticed online, where it's like men are like, if men got more women, then these would happen less. But then that puts blame on women. It's not women's fault. And like, well, if parents raise their kids better, well, no, it's not on parents, because this is what the society pushes out of norms, that men are owed women because they need wives. But we do not raise our sons in a way that makes them suitable husbands. And then men are not knowing that they're not a suitable husband because their mom has told them that they're a suitable man their entire life. And then they're confused because the alignment of their 18 years does not align with the last 60 years. Like, it's so confusing. I would be confused. I am confused.
We don't lack depth. We don't spend our time on things that's not meaningful, discussing things that are meaningless. We'd rather spend our time, our intellect, and our emotions focused on our purpose. Sometimes that purpose actually yields resources that allows for us to be able to take care of the people that we love the most. we understand that we have a finite amount of time on this earth, and we don't want to waste it on meaningless relationships. So we'd rather spend more of our time doing the thing that we actually love and like to do versus talking about stuff that don't even add any value into our life. But there's much, much more to this. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. T Tanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off of life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.